Yo, what's goody in the hoodie? Yo, hope y'all having a fantastic day. We're gonna go ahead and get straight into this, man. We got college football playoffs. Um, I can't remember if I went ahead and spoke on these, but we're gonna do it again. Just because, it's right here. We talk about it and stuff like that. Again, I didn't really want Notre Dame to be in. I'm glad they went ahead and put Miami in. Yeah, we're gonna go from here. Um, I think that theirs and Alabama. Well, of course, theirs is going to be the big question marks because they're the ones who not necessarily playing anybody. But still, I think between those two games, those are really going to show us like if Alabama is able to put things together and get that win over Oklahoma and have some like they not been healthy. They have not been healthy. And so if they able to put things together, we're gonna, see if they can make a little run. But I think Indiana still has a really good team. I think they still are probably the team. People still think Ohio State's the best team. The best team lost. Number one team in the nation is number one team in the nation at this point in time. But you know, I can't wait for tomorrow. We'll see. People trying to come for DeBoer's job. I personally, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I can't really say if it's not my team, so I don't really have to worry about that. But it's just interesting that people are trying to say that he needs to be fired because he lost 7 games and stuff like that. What other coach are you finna go out there and get that's finna necessarily have you just winning games year after year in championship game, all that stuff outside of Lane Kiffin, and he already got hired by LSU. So yeah. But we gonna get started with, like I said, the bowl games. I got Oregon. I got Alabama. I'm thinking they gonna catch the win. I got Alabama. I got Texas A&M against Miami. I got Ole Miss versus Tulane. That's the one that I question because I feel like if any of the G5 teams could make something shake, it is Tulane. Because they've always been that team that's been like right there on the cusp. They like the USC before USC. You know what I mean? And so I feel like if, well, not before, they kind of in that same kind of boat. Just USC then it kind of fell off. But I feel like they kind of in that same boat. If they can get things together, then I think they could pull off a win or two in a couple years. But I don't know about this year. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I got Ole Miss. We got Missouri State versus Arkansas State. That's tonight. I got Missouri State. It's crazy that Missouri State first year in the FBS they made a bowl game. That's cool, man. Good stuff. We got Kennesaw versus Western Michigan. I think I did a couple of these, but I got Kennesaw. We're gonna roll with Kennesaw. We got, yeah, I did some of these. I did the bowl games, so that's a bet. We gonna see how those go. But let me see. Making sure there's any bowl games. For the FCS, since I didn't get to talk about those, I'm gonna go Villanova. Illinois State, they doing their thing out there, but I'm gonna go Villanova. And then Montana versus Montana State. I'm gonna go with Montana. Honestly, I just those two teams this year are just the surprising ones. Like, I wish they were on the opposite end of the bracket so they could have played each other in the finals. But that right there is kind of crazy how both of those teams are really good this year. Yeah, but on to the NFL, man. NFL heating up. My boy Matthew out there balling. Rams are really the best team right now. That's who plays tonight. I'm rolling with the Rams. If they get this dub, I think they the favorite to win the NFC. So I got the Rams versus the Seahawks. We got the Eagles versus the Commanders. I'm rolling with the Eagles. Bears versus the Packers. I'm rolling with the Bears. I think if the Packers have to rely on Jordan Love, I'm gonna keep saying this. I ain't got no faith. He just, to me, he ain't showing me that he's it. So, and shit. Sorry, excuse my language, but still, I don't see it. I don't see what everybody else see. I'm rolling with the Bears. We got the Falcons versus the Cardinals. I'm rolling. Ew. I'm rolling with the Falcons. That's why that's an ugly game. A disgusting game. Jets versus the Saints. I'm rolling with the Saints. I think they'll get that win. Bills versus the Browns. I'm going with the Bills. I really hope that they build around Shador, but at the same time, I hope they trade him to another team. But then the thing is what team is he going to be able to go to and start right away? Especially with a lot of these teams having quarterbacks that they probably going to pick in the draft this year. So especially with Mendoza and Deontay Moore and all them boys, yeah. It's like he has to stay there now. And I hate that for him. Oh, shoot, send his butt to Miami. Send him to Miami, man. For real. But yeah, I'm going with the Bills. Chiefs versus the Titans. I'm gonna speak on this real quick. It's crazy that, both them boys, Micah and what's his name? Patrick Mahomes, tore their ACLs in the same day, man. And both of them were kind of fighting for playoff spots. One had a playoff spot and they trying to keep their standing and their momentum going. Then you got one trying to fight for a playoff spot. That was just a crazy weekend. Sad to see that happen to both of them. Get well soon, man. But Chiefs versus the Titans, I'm going with the Chiefs. Chargers versus the Cowboys, I'm rolling with the Chargers. I really wish that the Cowboys could have kind of picked it up at some point and could have won a couple more games, but I guess they kind of building for the future and maybe next year they'll be able to make some shake. Vikings versus the Giants, I'm going with the Vikings. Buccaneers versus the Panthers, I'm going with the Buccaneers. That's going to be a really good game. And at this point, I guess that kind of determines who goes to the playoffs. Bengals versus the Dolphins, I'm gonna go with the Bengals strictly because Jay Burrow is back, and I think he gonna make some shake. Especially after that loss. So yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Bengals. Jaguars versus the Broncos. I'm gonna roll with. It's a hard one. 'Cause, I mean, the last couple games, the Broncos been kind of but the Jaguars been in some dog fights. Nah, they kind of looking the same. I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll with the Broncos. I'm gonna roll with the Broncos. We're gonna see what happens. Texans versus the Raiders. I'm gonna roll with Texans. Brock Bowers, I think he just need to sit for the rest of the season. They just need to prep for next year. No cap. And honestly, even with CJ, even if they do make a nice little run or whatever, I hope they get him an offensive lineman in the draft this year because he need it. He needs it bad. The Steelers versus the Lions. I'm gonna roll with the Lions on that one. We gonna roll with them. Patriots versus the Ravens. I'm gonna roll with the Ravens strictly because I think they still have a chance to make the playoffs. Do they not? Yeah, and I think I'm a I think Lamar want to kind of keep that race a little closer than what it is, and I also think that the Colts are also still in the race. So if they're able to win a couple games, the Patriots and the Ravens could possibly end up getting in if the Colts end up losing games. So there's multiple ways that the Ravens can kind of get in if they can make some shape. But yeah, I got them winning. And then the 49ers versus the Colts, I'm rolling with the 49ers. So, if everything kind of lines up for the Ravens and for a couple other teams, especially with all these people going down now and the playoffs being so close and a lot of these, in both of the conferences, these next couple weeks are gonna mean a lot. So we're gonna see what the Colts end up doing. We're gonna see what the Ravens end up doing. But yeah, those gonna be my picks for this week, man. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about the bowl week and stuff like that. If y'all like the games, if y'all think the games are, worth even watching. I enjoyed that they added the aspect of possibly having a Cinderella run to college football. I know everybody doesn't really, bang with James Madison and Tulane being in the college football playoffs, which, yes, I do think they probably should go to 16 instead of the 12. But the thing that kind of messed everything up is the ACC. And like I said, Notre Dame itself. If the ACC would have had it implemented, whatever that tiebreaker junk is, I don't know why they did that. But if Miami was in the championship game and they would have won, they would have been in the playoffs regardless. And then Notre Dame would have been in regardless. But the thing is that Notre Dame don't want to be in a conference, which hurts their, standing, especially when you lost to the team that you're trying to say that you should be in over. At the end of the day, the ACC did some stupid junk with their tiebreaker system. At the end of the day, the committee should have had already had Miami above Notre Dame like 4 weeks ago before the playoffs, last standing came out. And that would have solved all of that issue in the first place, because that could have been the solution as well. So, I know people have their feelings about how the playoff system kind of went off this year, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope they do go to 16, because if they do go to 16, it don't matter. At that point, that's 14 teams that should be pretty good. And then if you want to add 2 G5 after that, you couldn't say anything after that, because again, that's 14 teams. It's not gonna be a lot of 15, 10, and 2 teams. At the end of the day, by that point, those 14 teams, 3 of those are probably gonna have 3 losses. At that point, I feel like that's fair. And, we could definitely see if the G5 teams could definitely beat those teams. You know what I mean? So that would be my solution to that problem. But I appreciate y'all for coming out. Nothing but G takes, man. Y'all know how we coming. Next week, we're going to be talking about still some NFL, but less college football, but we're going to get into some basketball too. Start getting into that, because basketball is starting to get in the heat of things, man. The thing with Chris Paul, that was kind of crazy. They let him go just because he probably had an opinion to say. And honestly and truly, if I'm a young guy, I would be trying to listen to Chris Paul. That I don't understand. But, that's just me, how I came up and stuff like that. But yeah, man, y'all be easy. Number G takes. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, man, share it, let somebody know. And yeah, peace.